What happens in our practice is we don't only learn how to walk, we also learn how to pay attention around us. So when we go for a walk and we turn it into a walking meditation, we want to learn how to observe things around us. But first and foremost, we learn how to observe things within us. So we start with kinesthetic awareness. What do we pay attention to? Not only to the point in time when we land, we also want to point our focus of attention at the spaces between the steps. What's going on between the points in time when the foot lands? There's the movement of the leg. The whole body is involved in some kind of movement. Maintain some semblance of balance. We also destabilize ourselves using gravity to propel ourselves further, take a step. Essentially, there is the whole interesting combination of different movements of different parts of the body that together constitute a walking process. If we pay attention to the pauses between steps, we start noticing little details about the movement that we perhaps never paid attention to before. Once again, if you pay attention to something, you can learn something about it. This is the only way to learn about kinesthesia. This is the only way to hone your kinesthetic awareness, is by actually paying attention to your movement. Those people who don't pay attention to their movements, they often don't even know what it's like to really feel fully alive. And when you develop harmonious culture movement, then you can enjoy the process, not just paying attention and perceiving it like a homework. You actually start thriving through movement. That's right. How can you thrive in life? Well, this is one of the ways to thrive, by noticing how you move and improving the quality of your culture and movement. You can actually improve the quality of life. It's pretty profound, isn't it? I promise you, our practice will knock the socks off of you, literally or metaphorically. And it already knocked socks off of me, as you can imagine. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to practice what we call walking Qigong. Now, what's the difference between walking Qigong and walking meditation? In walking Qigong, I suggest using what we call a tap. The tap is what happens between steps. So not only do you pay attention to the pauses between the steps, but you're also adding another element, a little tap. And another tap. And another tap. And another tap. Remember how we practiced walking in a zigzag line in the basic program. So this is the same type of walking dynamics. We're not doing much with our hands. Just imagine that you're holding 2 cups. We can even hold 2 cups for real. Then you just simply walk. As you do this slowly and gracefully and mindfully, this will become an amazing opportunity to develop a harmonious culture of movement that also taps into the element of earth energy and creates a ripple effect. So, for example, if you ripple enough energy, something funny is going to happen to your cups. Don't do it at home unless you're ready. You tap, and the cup flies. Why does it fly? Because the wave went through your body and ended up reaching your hand. Your cup will most likely land or sit in the middle of your palm. Right in the middle of the palm, there is a wonderful energy gateway, just like the center of the foot provides the energetic connection to the ground and can be imagined as a center of the suction cup. You can also imagine the center of the palm as a suction cup. This is called a Lagung point. And this Lagung point is another major energy gateway in the body. And when you tap, it actually creates the ripple effect. No tension. Actually, the more relaxed you are, the better it works. When you experiment with tapping, you don't have to lose your marbles or your cups. You can simply imagine that you have something in your hands. It will change the alignment of your palms or facilitate keeping your palms rotated slightly more forward as opposed to being backwards. And when you're moving with the tap, you can even combine that with breathing. So you can inhale on tap and exhale on step. Obviously, this will require slowing down, otherwise you will hyperventilate. I have nothing against hyperventilation, by the way. There is a specific breathing practice called thunder breath that we will be exploring in an advanced program that uses a rapid breathing technique similar to hyperventilation. We're not going to do that right now. If you feel like exploring it, knock yourself out. I'm not stopping you, but you simply will notice how it's easier to breathe deeply and smoothly if you go a little bit slower. And to wrap up our webinar today, let me also invite you to pay attention to other things happening around you as you're going for a walk. That's right. Not only do you pay attention to the flow of qi in your body as you're walking, you can also notice the flow of things around you. Again, let's see how you can bring attention to the pauses between certain events. If you can pay attention to the pauses between your steps, I wonder if you can pay attention to, for example, the pauses between sounds. For instance, there may be birds singing. Each bird's song, most birds at least, has certain rhythm to it. It has to do with the bird actually breathing. And you can listen to that bird song and see how you can bring attention to the pauses between the episodes when the bird is actually pronouncing certain phrase. It also can be applied to the spaces that you can move through instead of looking at objects. For example, if you're moving down the street, for instance, there are houses. Well, instead of just looking at the houses, see if you can look at the spaces between houses. If there are trees or bushes, see if you can pay attention not only to the trees or bushes, but also to the spaces between them. Of course, there are going to be some other things that exist in those spaces. How often do you notice them? Now, that's a question. How often do you notice things that are not just standard objects of perception? It's a pretty profound reframing of focus that we study. How to basically expand our perceptivity by shifting from looking at objects or listening to particular phrases to also noticing what's happening between the objects. There's energy there. And that actually may reveal to you the relationship between different objects of perception. Or as in music, for example, or bird song, you can listen to the pauses between the notes or between the phrases of the song of a bird. Similarly, you can also listen to somebody talk, like I'm speaking. I wonder if you can listen to the pauses between my words. I deliberately make sure that I create pauses between my words or between sentences. Unlike many other speakers, I actually deliberately make sure that I leave you something to pay attention to in between the words or phrases. This is like reading between the lines. You literally connect with much deeper essence of what is being presented or communicated. That's right. Only a few percent of communication, something like 5 to 10% of communication actually is covered by a verbal delivery. And the rest is nonverbal. Well, this is an invitation for you to pay attention to nonverbal delivery in communication and learn how to tap into the flow of energy that can be observed in between those objects of perception or particular spikes of information. It's like paying attention to the flow of waves in the ocean. The waves, obviously, are the parts of the body of water that stick above the other parts of the body of the water. But there are not only waves in the ocean, there are also the troughs between the waves, right? Well, those troughs or valleys between the waves are also something to pay attention to. If you're a surfer, you know what I'm talking about. But if you never surfed, it doesn't matter. You can still notice how important it is to pay attention to the bottom part of the cycle as well as the peak of the cycle. And as you develop this skill, you will discover for yourself a treasure trove of knowledge and information and wisdom as you dive deeper into exploring what is going on in between what I used to perceive.